Following heavy bombardment by the military, it appears the camps of terrorists in the northeast are in disarray. Some Boko Haram fighters who were escaping the military bombardment in Borno State were attacked by their rivals, the Islamic States of West Africa Province, ISWAP. While reports say about 200 Boko Haram fighters and their commanders were killed in the military onslaught, some of the escaped terrorists who sought refuge in China village in Bama local government area of the state were attacked by ISWAP. I think it's a technical way that God is answering our prayer. Because if terrorists start killing terrorists, and I read one story yesterday that some bandits act to arrest a robber to hand over the robber to the police.
Say Olegbe.
Bandit arrest thief, hand over thief to police.
What about what he's told? They collected it from him. So well, it's good news. At least all the bombardment, the bombings being carried out by the military. Of course, it shows that these people are being
of commanders,
yes,
top commanders that
they are being displaced. But
yes,
the interesting thing is, how come these people still find a way to regroup, to still cause problems within that northeast?
we discussed about
here and there. Yes.
We discussed about
the supply line needs to be cut, needs to be cut off, because the point is
the recruitment drive.
Yeah, the recruitment drive. Where do they get these people? And are these people really Nigerians, or are some, unemployed people from other countries joining?
A lot of people will tell you that these are people living in those ungoverned spaces.
Yes, also including places in Niger Republic.
Government.
The military, yes, kudos to them, but I think they need to break the ranks of these people and then also cut them off from the northwest and the north central, because since they are being displaced from the northeast, you find a lot of them moving to other places, and causing so much havoc, causing damage. So I commend the military for bombing them, but on the ground too, the military should intensify efforts in cutting off their contacts with their criminal colleagues in other places, in the northwest, in the north central, so that, of course, terrorism can be easily defeated.
Dari, can you give us a kind of background to this rivalry between ISWAP and Boko Haram fighters?
Yeah, you see, what we are saying, first I must say, like you said, God is answering our prayer. When Ayana decides to attack a tiger, it is all well and good for other animals in the bush, so it's okay. More of such. However, this rivalry, it stems from what I would call the disagreement in the chains of command of Boko Haram itself. It got to a point, especially during the reign of the last, this guy that was killed, what's his name?
Shekau.
There were dissents. He was the leader.
Okay, secession in the camp of Shekau.
There were dissents. People felt, look, this guy is falling off track. We can no longer follow him. And there was this serious a struggle for control. They wanted him out. So, but he was also strong. At a point, a faction of Boko Haram joined ISWAP and pledged their allegiance to the leadership of ISWAP. I remember that time. So when that happened, ISWAP took it upon themselves to say, now we'll be appointing leaders for Boko Haram, which is like a wing of ISWAP in Nigeria, and started funding them. Heavily. So they appointed somebody. Shekau insisted he is in charge until he was killed by the person appointed. Now those ones are still loyal to ISWAP. Shekau's people too are still carrying on. They appointed their own leaders, and so you now have about 3-4 factions, splinter groups, all claiming to be fighting the same war, but under different kind of leadership. Orientations are now also very different, and there is rivalry for control of territory. What we see playing out now is control, the power and the struggle for control. These people escaped from Nigerian army, ran into probably an area heavily populated by ISWAP fighters, and they were wiped out. So our prayer should be, these fighters should also run into areas populated by Boko Haram, and they should be wiped out. That will be helping the war against insurgency. But by and large, there is something that is worrisome, and that is the orientation being carried by these fighters. While we continue the military bombardment, we must do something about the orientation.
Yeah.
What are they being told? Be they Nigerians, be they Nigerians or Chadians or name it. There must be something they were told.
Oh, in the process of recruitment.
In the process of
Yes.
recruitment.
To radicalize them.
They are radicalized. So what have we done to reduce the possibility of radicalization in those possible catchment areas where they can get fighters from? We have still not done anything tangible, I must tell you, about the Almajiris on the streets of the northern states. I served there and stayed there for almost 5 years. And I tell you, the average Almajiri on the street sees nothing else other than the next opportunity. The next meal is an opportunity. The next cloth is an opportunity.
So, Emeka, it will be safe.
You find people who are almost
It will be
hopeless.
safe to conclude with 33% unemployment rates, inflation rates of 19.65%, that the level of poverty, the economic downturn, that this will be what is fueling this recruitment. That if government is not a military war alone, that if government does not go to the root cause, that we might not actually defeat terrorism. So far, they get people, they give money, they recruit people, they give loans, they give cash. During Salah, they give
implements.
Yes.
Yeah. But the basic thing about terrorism is the weaponization of fear. They turn fear into a weapon. You know, people don't want to die. So they move in and try to subjugate the people. Okay, we're talking of the inflation. You know, part of the inflation has to do with rising food prices. Also caused by the insecurity. People cannot go to their farms. So they migrate to other areas where they don't really contribute a lot to the economy of those areas. And they are more or less like a problem, you know, to the areas, to those areas they migrate to. Meanwhile, these are farmers. These are people who are subsistence farmers. They've been in farming for decades. So what do you have? You have that same problem of the people being unable to contribute to the economy of the country. So when you talk about unemployment rate, let's also look at those displaced. The displacement across Nigeria caused by terrorism is so high. It's something that needs urgent attention. Now, we talked about some people who went for a burial and were kidnapped, and the next thing we heard was that they had been taken to the farms of these bandits to be working for them. That's slavery. So how do you deal with such a thing? Okay, these so-called bandits, they have disrupted the food supply chain across Nigeria, and then now they are conscripting Nigerians into working for them. So they see that food is very important to them. They want other Nigerians to starve while they themselves have a regular supply of food. I think this bombardment should actually get to these people. Let them, the Boko Haram elements who were fleeing and they were caught up, you know, they ran into the gunfire of ISWAP. Of course, part of it was because of the rains. So they were soaked in the rain. Some of them were without clothes, without shoes, and ISWAP opened fire on them. But ISWAP stopped when they saw women and children with them. I believe the military should really go hard on these people, because we should not, by any means, be labeled as a country where slave trade is taking place. Is a terrible characterization. Well, that is what these people are trying to do. And they must be stopped in their tracks. Since they want Nigerians to stop, every measure should be taken against them so that they will not succeed in their evil mission.
Darren, we must commend the armed forces. As in, so far, so good. Let's leave banditry now that has crossed to the north central and across the country. But talking about the northeast, the epicenter of this insurgents that started in 2009, that's the way we've been able to, you know.
I think they got wiser than the insurgents, the military now. The leadership of the military saw something we've been saying so far. You see, there was something these insurgents were trying to do. They were spreading terror in such a way that the army and other security forces will be over-engaged. You're engaged here, you're engaged here, you're engaged here. And in all these places, your effort will be minute. I think what the army has been able to do is that, look, let us crush the insurgents. If we do, we can take care of these other issues. And they are concentrating on fighting the insurgents. One. Two, another thing that is going for the military now is that they have realized that the insurgency and banditry appears to be related. And they are treating everybody as terrorists.
Absolutely.
And it is working for us. If there is a development in the northeast and it is traced to anywhere else, they go there immediately, bombard the place, and give some sense of, look, we won't take this from you. And that is helping. It's helping the fight.
Umar is calling us from Bida in Niger State. Thank you for joining us, Umar. Oh, I think we lost Umar.
You.
So it has not been a case of a sorry state so far that our military, they've been able to stem the tide of insurgency in the northeast.
No, of course, these are the military is made up of human beings. So these are not they are not God, you know. So they work within their capabilities, within the strategies, you know, and also within resources available to them, intelligence available to them. So definitely with the feedback, like Dari said, coming from the media, from Nigerians, they have been fine-tuning their strategies. And we have a chief of defense staff, General Lucky Rabah, who is really dedicated to putting an end to insurgency. I don't know what his predecessors were actually doing, because we can see that with him, with this current chief of defense staff, there is a change, there is a sea change in the strategies, in the tactics they're using against this insurgent. But they still need to do more. They need to do much more. Because, you know, now that we have the reins, of course, they can't work so well. So the military must make sure that they are decimated so badly that by the time the dry season comes, they will not be able to regroup
what they have lost.
You know, they will not be able to regroup and cause more problems.
So finally, when you want to look at the end of the day, because the amount we've extended in fighting insurgency in that region, that area in the next 30 years, I don't see them coming out of this in terms of backwardness, in terms of destruction, in terms of displaced people.
We will hold them all the assistance we can give collectively to bring them out of it. Because the level of destruction, the stunted growth and development, and the psychological trauma, they are like a people who had been at war all this while, and they end of the day, they lose because some of these insurgents are their people. Some of these insurgents used to be known to them. Some are dead, some are in prison. Some of these insurgents are people that they will still find around after all these things and they will still be afraid. Now, that is one. Two, the farms, the homes, the schools, the infrastructures are all gone. And unless we all, we should first pray for a quick end to this war, then we begin to plan. The government should also be planning, as they are waging this war, how to revitalize that part of the country.
All right. Okay.